Hello there. Let's wait for some people to get in here. Hello there. How's it going? Once. So yeah, my dad should be jumping on shortly here, and we will continue our podcast. We're in episode 4 right now. We've got 3 up. You can go check it out. Millennial X podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple, just about anywhere you can get a podcast, in fact. Welcome. How's everyone doing today? The 3 of you in here. And I'll meet my dog, Hope. She's a friendly girl. Those are my plants. Hope, right here. Oh, man, she's a little camera shy. Always has been. Boop. Sorry, just waiting for my dad to jump on here. I'm going to invite. Yay, new podcast. Hello, Avi. This podcast will conclude our Ukraine trip, as well as hopefully try and get a new direction that we're going to be headed in. So we're always looking for good ideas. I've got a pretty large storehouse of knowledge and things that we could go into, pretty in-depth, that would, I think, be entertaining at the very least. Yeah, sorry everybody. I know I was doing these every day, but I got COVID pretty bad coming back from Europe, so it's been kind of a shitty week. Not so bad as my pops got it, or our translator apparently, but you know, is what it is. Hello, welcome everybody. How's everybody doing? It's been about a week since we spoke. So yeah, for everybody that wants to give ideas for ways that we can continue our podcast, I've kind of been thinking we should, should we stick to Ukraine as much? The situation is kind of dying down over there at the moment. I am more than happy to keep everyone up to that. Hello, welcome. Ooh, that jumped up fast. We got lots of people in here now. So yeah, what kind of things do you guys want to talk about while we wait? Anything in particular? I don't know if everybody saw, the Russians have actually pulled out of Kyiv, which is the capital city. Well, they pulled out of the capital city. It's becoming a war of attrition in the south now, so it's not like complete domination isn't such on the table anymore. It is harder back in America now because, the only thing we're really talking about here is, I guess, some celebrity slapped the shit out of each other, so... Who's in the cage? That's Frederick. He's my chinchilla. He's a good little guy. He's sleeping right now, so we gotta be a little quiet. But yeah, he's a cool little dude. I don't think I have an attitude towards transgender folks. It's whatever you want, right? Do what makes you happy as long as it's not hurting anybody. I don't quite see any issue with it. Is it for me? No. Do I have anything against it? No. Hello, boy. You mom? You know my mom? She's a cool lady. She might get on here. What am I not answering? They are super cool. I mean, it's a little weird. Like he's got this little like illusion of adorableness. But once he starts to nibble on you, then it's like, oh man, that's a rodent, isn't it? I actually am into the ladies. Thank you very much. I'm neither pitching nor catching. Hello there. How's it going? Oh, I guess we're doing a popularity contest. Exactly. This is power baths, right? Powder, yeah, so they take a bath in a volcanic ash. It's the wildest thing. Like when I first got him, I had told he had never done it before. And then I put it out for him to do, and I was like, no way is he gonna know what to do here. And this little motherfucker just jumped right in there and started spinning. Oh, it was so cool. I'm meaning opinion, not attitude. Everybody do you, man. Hello, he's here. I'm in a like game, I think, right now. This is my first one. And I'm winning by 3 points. It's exciting. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, everybody do you, you know? If it makes you happy, that's all that matters, right? Like I think we spend our lives trying to, you know, make other people happy with what we're doing or like get their approval or whatever. And yeah, that's not the way I like to live my life, you know? Does the other person speak? Hello there. Sorry, Pops, I'll get you on here in just a minute. Yeah, so I take care of my grandpa. He lost his leg, so I currently live here at a very cheap amount of rent. It's very nice. Can't really complain other than the fact that, yeah, unless you met my grandpa, then you would know. Hello, welcome. Let's see if I can get this going here. I'm glad you guys like my unfinished basement. It is fucking cold here. Like it gets real cold up in here. Hello from Poland. Oh, that's very cool. We were there a couple weeks ago. You might just send a guest request, Pops. It's not giving me the option to invite you. We're just waiting on him to send in that request and we'll start. Oh, there's a new guest request.
There we go.
Hello.
Howdy.
How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad. You're just coming through audio at the moment. If that's how you want to do it, that's fine.
No, I'm trying to figure out how to turn it on.
So I did this yesterday. I had to back out completely, and then there was an option, like 3 options down at the bottom screen, and you had to go far over to the right to enhance, I think is what it said.
Okay, I'll do that.
I don't know. Everybody's been doing on live, and like it's just stupid as shit. I'm like, you guys just like we just want to argue with people without any facts, because like that's essentially what we're doing. Nobody's quoting sources. It's just like, well, I like Trump. Well, I do. And it's just, hello in North Carolina, back in Salt Lake City at the moment. One new guest request.
I can put on a little halo
here.
You
got a sound booth. Wicked. That's so cool.
Alrighty. So how many people we got in here? 63.
63. It's been jumping. I've seen 160.
Okay.
There's only like 2,000 people online.
Did you tell people that we're going to be recording a podcast live right now?
I did. It's in the title as well.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, and they can ask questions and stuff as we're going. It'll be a little more interactive than it was before.
Sure.
But we should still be able to get it up, the recording of this up, right?
Yeah, I don't think I can save it though from my end.
I can save it. I can upload it to YouTube. That's not a problem. But
yeah.
Do we want to like do a sound recorder as well? Or you're using your phone right now, so you wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, give me a minute. I have a sound recorder. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay, cool. No, we're back in Salt Lake City at the moment. Our effort of the war went, and our effort consisted of us personally hand delivering $4,000 worth of medical supplies to the Ukrainians before they attempted to conscript us. And my father here, he's got a bunch of little kids at home, so it just wasn't an option. So yeah, we're back here for the moment. I'd love to figure out some other way to get involved without any combat experience, obviously. He does free readings. I do free readings too. Thank you very much. I don't know. I'm super weird about who I let pull my cards. There's a handful of people when they, when they pull the cards, I'm willing to accept their interpretation on. Sorry, that was to the person above you. What kind of readings then? No, I'm in Salt Lake City right now. There's no fighting going on in Salt Lake City. Oh yeah, I don't do mediumship. Sorry. The whole I feel this, I feel that. It just like I can pull the cards really well. I mean, I can lay a person out 15 cards and put, the framework of that person out. Uh, but it's not so much guesswork at that point. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if you guys want people to know who, like, to read your cards, I've got a list of people who are, as good as I am, if not better. So yeah. Spirit coming up says ghost. I don't do ghosts either. Again, this could be a discussion for another TikTok or the way we move this channel, because we're not sure if we're going to do some like ancient civilization where we're going to be focusing on, or we're going to focus on the magics, or what we're going to be focusing on. But ghosts, not my thing. I don't necessarily believe in ghosts. Once you start playing with, other things, you start to realize that there's a lot of things out there that are looking to trick us. And that's what I think happens at the ghost level on most things. Hello in Germany.
So I
Already blowing up.
worked on Ghost Adventures on Travel Channel as a still photographer for a number of episodes here in Utah, Nevada, and Idaho. I don't believe in ghosts either. And I spent a lot of time with people who do and never saw anything that made me believe that it was real. Okay, I do have my Tascam recorder. Make sure I had to put new batteries in it. Just make sure I've got an SD card in here. Okay, I think we should be good to go. Looks like we have plenty of time on here.
So he doesn't investigate all the time. He just worked on a season.
Yeah, so my regular job is a still photographer for film and television. And so when they come in to this area, he's out of Vegas. That's where all those guys are from, is Vegas. So they come up around this area a lot. But I haven't worked with them in a couple of years because I kind of moved on. They don't pay very well. Okay, here we go. We are good to go for audio.
Podcast number 4.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Alrighty, so let's get started. So this is Millennial X, podcast 4. Today is March 30th. Good morning. Or afternoon, I guess.
English seems great. Yeah, so I like to give a shout out to my pops here. He handles the audio end of all of this. So when you guys get to the podcast and you hear him, and you're not hearing all the buts and ums and everything, that's his doing.
That is me, unless you listen to the very first one, which I put up the wrong one. But
After 3 days of work.
But I just went and looked because we're using a web app called Transistor, which allows us to put it on all the different places. They actually will allow me to resubmit it. So I'm just going to resubmit it and take out the old one so people can, at least new people can get what it was supposed to be originally. Alrighty, so today we are just catching up on where we've been the last, week and a half?
Yeah, about a week and a half.
Yeah.
Because I'd say about half a week. We've been back about a week now, and about a half a week before our last podcast. The COVID kind of hit hard.
That it did. So last time we did a podcast, I think I had been sick for about a day.
Right.
I'm just now getting to a point where I'm getting over it. Pretty miserable. You were pretty sick for a while.
Yeah, I nipped it in the butt pretty quick. Rika's still out. She's still in bed.
Rika was our translator while we were in Hungary.
She was just a peach. She was so nice. Like one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Yeah, she's super cool. She washed our clothes while we were there. She brought us dinner one night. So super cool. It was fun to have her be a part of our adventure.
Yeah, and she knew where to like send us for places. It was pretty cool. I don't know if I could call it a vacation. It was like, I don't know. My problem was the whole time I left, everybody's like, don't treat this like a vacation, Derek. And then I get back and everybody's like, how was your vacation? And I'm like, what the fuck? That's not what happened.
Yeah,
It was an adventure.
it was not a vacation. There was some rest in there in the final days, especially when we got sick, but the rest of the time we were working.
Yep.
So for those who haven't gone back and watched the first three, the first one talks about our decision to go to the Ukraine to help out kind of on a humanitarian mission as combat medics, and our adventure into the Ukraine and then swiftly out of Ukraine to Hungary. We spent, about 10 days in Hungary documenting
The border.
all the refugees. And so our last two podcasts were pretty much about that, getting our drone up and up over into Ukraine.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
I guess this time we can talk about the last day we put the drone up.
Okay. Well, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah. So the last day we decided to put our drone out, we went back to the train station. It was where we had spent most of the time in Zahon, and it was the deembarkation point for all of the refugees who had fled Ukraine. It turns out we went looking for them at the first and second train stations, trying to figure out where they were coming in from. We ended up finding out on the last day that they were coming straight from the capital city and from Lviv. So they were on the train the whole time getting there. Anyway, we got our drone back up into the air, and after about 10 minutes, things got real weird. We ended up just about losing our drone again. Somebody apparently had anti-drone technologies there. And yeah, it was probably like a 15-20 minute fight just to get our drone landed in a remote area so that nobody would come confiscate it.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is, so we got it up, got a lot of really, really great footage.
Amazing.
And then about halfway through the second battery is when we could tell something was interfering with it. And it's really difficult in a drone to know if it's just interference. I mean, you're next to a train station that's got a lot of metal, a lot of iron. That can mess with the signal. But I didn't happen to be standing on the tracks like I had been before. And when I did, we didn't have any problems. But from where I'd taken off from that parking lot, it had gotten grabbed. I mean, I completely lost signal, couldn't do anything with it. Usually switching a DJI drone into ADI mode and then back will allow you to reconnect. Nothing. So I completely reset the control and was able to capture it for maybe 10, 15 seconds and started heading our direction. Lost it again. And I did that a few times until I finally was able to get it low enough that whoever had line of sight on it had lost it. And we were able to finally bring it down. But it might be interesting because it's all recorded. It'll all be on the SD card. I haven't looked at it yet because you have the drones.
I have the drones.
But be able to look at it and kind of see if maybe we can spot someone that might have a drone gun, or just get an idea of where it was coming from.
Well, so as we were leaving, we bought our train ticket back to Zahon, or not to Zahon, but to Kisvarda, and I had the drone, and I had it I was wearing my big coat, so it kind of hid everything really well. And I remember I don't know, getting a weird feeling and just tucking it in, putting my coat over the drone. And as we're waiting for the train, security guards start coming around to all the news, to all the reporters and stuff, and demanding they empty their backpacks and shit.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, they were going through everybody's stuff.
And I just remember being like, "Oh well, good thing our train's here." It was cool. It was cool. I mean, it was stressful, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, we got some great footage. And so we ended up heading back. That was the last time that we did any shooting while we were there.
Yeah,
That
we both
drove.
got pretty sick the next day, and then we had to get to Budapest to get here back home.
Yeah, and we
That was
took
a
a
long flight. Oh God.
oh, it was a long travel day. Initially, we had well, we didn't have them. We were going to have tickets that were just a 14-hour flight from Budapest straight to Salt Lake. But I had someone else purchase the tickets for us to take care of it. They had Sky Miles and whatnot, and was it? Anyways, we ended up going from 14 hours to 27 hours, I think, is what our total time was, which is a pretty big jump in travel time.
Big jump.
Yeah, and then we actually had to start before that because we had to get out of Zahon, which was, what was it, 4 hours on the transport we took to get down there, and yeah, it was 2 days, two really long days.
Yeah, it was a long, and then once you get on the 11-hour flight, like there's like little TVs in front of you on all the chairs,
Yeah,
and mine was literally the one on the aircraft that was not working.
yeah,
And
they tried to reset it half a dozen times, didn't work.
Oh, it was tough just sitting there. My ADHD started really just like kicking me in the face. Oh, it was horrible.
We were going back in time, obviously, because we were coming
Yep.
to Salt Lake, and I didn't want to sleep because we didn't arrive until 9:30 in the evening, and we left at 6:30 in the morning. So I didn't want to sleep because I didn't want to screw up my sleeping schedule when I got here. Then I got here and couldn't sleep, but I was sick, and it has been downhill up until today.
Yeah, it's been an adventure for sure.
Well, we're down to 8. Looks like you're not very interesting today.
I guess there's only like 2,000 people on, and I mean we're just using this for our podcast. So the less people that watch this, right, the better for us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
This just seems like a really good medium that we can get all of our recordings done, especially if we do it like this time of day. There was only like 2,000 people in the world on live right now.
Oh, it's a good time to be on live then.
Actively, yeah, actively. Like I don't know. I've been spending the last couple days trying to like figure shit out. Like where do I take this TikTok channel? Like how do we move forward in our podcast? Because like the interest that I'm getting, people really seem to want to hear more. And so what up, Mike? Yeah, so this seems like an interesting medium. Again, I didn't get the pull up like I was hoping to. But already before you jumped on here, lots of people were, all of a sudden like 7 or 8 different conversational topics appeared of things that we had already discussed, going over, like the magics, ancient civilization, you know, whatever way we choose to turn this channel, it was already being discussed up above, which is kind of cool.
You're right. I'm going back and looking at some of the messages because, someone had written to me specifically, but I'm not really sure what they're talking about.
It was the ghost hunter person. They wanted you to hit him up.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, just private message me.
They left
I'd
a
be
while
happy.
ago.
Oh, okay. Alrighty, so we're now at the cusp of having to change what we're doing because we're no longer in Europe. We can't except for what people tell us.
Yep. And I mean, it's tough because like we were at the border, we were getting good information from reliable sources that other people weren't getting. The newscasters, they knew there was a lot of things they couldn't just say, and so they would like give to us, and they'd be like, "Have fun, enjoy." Right. And that was a real cool source of information.
Yeah, and I mean, we obviously have contact information for them, so we could reach out. But I think right now it's probably more beneficial for us to move on with our podcast, and if someone finds or wants to know more or has interest in Ukraine and whatnot, they can reach out to us individually.
Yeah, I don't know. So like, I've been like so split. Do I keep doing what I'm doing for Ukraine? But again, we were kind of talking about this earlier. Like, it does seem to be dialing down on that side of the world. At the very least, the Russians have admitted that they are not going to get the capital city. And if you can't take the capital city, there, it's like, what are you trying to conquer now? Like if you
Right.
don't
Yeah.
take the capital, you don't take the country. It's just that simple.
Yeah. My fear and belief is to what's going to happen is Putin's just going to regroup and hit harder. And so this is giving him time to do that as they kind of draw stuff back and they're into these
Yeah.
negotiations. And I think he's going to just totally just come right back and try and hit it harder.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, that would make sense. It's turning into this war of attrition, right? And I mean, I saw a pretty interesting scale today of like the number of bodies that are in like each military, right? I saw this one that was like Ukraine, and it was like a petri dish full of sprinkles. And then like they scale all the way up to Russia, and it's like, like a 5-gallon bucket full of sprinkles. And it was like, the difference between 100,000 people fighting in the military and 1.1 million is just staggering.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, the good news is we should be able to see, and by we, I mean intelligence agencies should be able to see any kind of movement if they are really trying to regroup. It should become pretty obvious. They'll be able to see supplies being moved in. They'll be able to see troops moved in, those kind of things. So at least we'll have an idea of it coming. But my guess is they'll try and do what we did in Iraq, which is just bomb the crap out of more of the country.
Yeah. I mean, that's their move to make. It's what they did in Afghanistan and Syria, they just carpet bomb. It's just really sad because for every one military installation they attack, they attack like between 5 and 7 civilian locations, right? Schools, hospitals, it's real messed up. But I am not hearing the biolabs thing so much anymore. I'm not having people tell me, oh, they're going to destroy the bioweapons labs. Like I haven't heard that, which is cool.
Right.
It goes to show that even Russian propaganda is not going to last forever.
Right.
Which is nice.
Yeah. And it's funny, when I said Iraq, my thought was what America did, right? So we kind of stayed outside and just bombed the crap out of it until they were tenderized, and then we went in, right? But like you said, Afghanistan and Syria, they do it a little bit differently. They're doing the grid square bombing. They don't care what they hit. They're just trying to hit anything and everything. And you know what? I saw, and I don't know how true this is, but I saw a statistic that said up to 60% of Russian ordinances haven't detonated. So they've got them all over the place.
Buried under rubble in the streets. Yeah,
so,
I heard decades before they're able to get them all disarmed.
Yep. And it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Like, I guarantee you when the U.S. drops 10 bombs, at least 9 of them go off, right? If not that 10th one as well. So to hear 2 of 10 bombs are going off now, it's like, where are they getting these munitions from? China, probably.
Probably China. Of course, they make a lot of munitions too, so they're just basically suck at making munitions.
Yeah. I mean, that's good and it's bad, I mean, look at like Vietnam, places like Korea where there's still landmines that kill people to this day, just walking around.
Well, even in the UK, they still run into ordinances in development. Yeah, so that's been 70 years since they've had to clean all that up. So.
Yeah, I mean, fucking war is just not cool, man. It's just not cool at all.
So we've got we're planning on 3 podcasts a week. 2 of those we want to make sure we keep inside of the realm of, I don't know, what would you call it?
Feasibility? Oh yeah, okay, yeah, no, in the metaphysical realm for sure.
Yeah, there you go. Probably all 3 of them, but one of them will be done through TikTok like this, so everybody will be able to watch this one if they want, and then the rest of them will be on, well, including this one, but they'll just be on Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Play.
I'm gonna throw a timeout here real quick.
Sure.
Why do you love Russia? Can you explain? I mean, that's like equivalent to saying you love World War II Germany, right? So, can you give us an explanation instead of just like shouting off Russian propaganda? So let that person respond.
Sure.
Yeah, so we're trying to open minds a little bit more. It's there's so much more of the world than what we experience or what we are even capable of seeing. Glitches in the matrix, things like that. We're gonna go into all of that. Uh, I think our next adventure live, because like I don't know, our next like duo adventure together, we're trying to put a Sasquatch expedition together up in Canada. That'll be really cool.
Absolutely.
I did get the prices on it. It's not as expensive as I thought.
Okay. Well,
It's
it's
only like
just time.
time. It's a week long. It'll be next year in 2023.
Okay.
Time. It's a week long. It'll be next year in 2023.
Okay.
And it's like $2,300, so it's not that
Or
per person. Yeah, that's a week. Everything paid for. The only thing we have to do is get clothes, cameras. He will provide cameras as well to use, but
but we can bring our own.
exactly. So I'm just
Alrighty.
assuming
Well,
this person's a troll because they can't back up what they're saying here.
yep. Very true.
Yeah, you gotta love these trolls. Let's look into this person a little more. Ganymede 34. Sad. Oh, he deleted his comment. I'm pretty sure that was Amy actually. Never mind. Yeah, so any of you have any ideas what you'd like to hear us be talking about? There's only 20 people in here, but your opinions matter too.
So throw some of the content out that we'll be covering, just so people have an idea.
Yeah, of course. So one of the things that I'm most interested in getting, to telling everybody about is, is the idea that mainstream archaeology is infallible, right? Like they throw out dates for megalithic sites that are across the world, and they make numbers up. There's no you can't like test these sites in the way that they claim. Yeah, the podcast name is Millennial X. We've both been really well. Thank you, Cindy. We're currently discussing potential future podcast ideas. So for me, what I'd like to do is I think that there is a lot of information out there indicating that there was a civilization, a high civilization during the time of the last ice age, who is capable of unbelievable things that we witness today. I'd like to go into like what are the Great Pyramids of Giza, right? Like I think we have a couple of answers that would, I don't know, blow your minds, honestly, because they're not monuments to the dead. That's pretty clear. They've never actually found a body in any of the Great Pyramids. They're teaching tools essentially. They have, the speed of light dictated into the framework of the pyramid. They have, the geographical location, as in like the longitude and the latitude. I think that's one of the areas I would like to really get into is talking about things we're clearly lied to about, like to say Sacsayhuaman is a mere 700 years old, just that's not true. You know what I mean? The technologies did not exist on this planet to make megalithic structures the way they were made, at a time. So another thing I'd like to get into are crop circles. That's a fascinating subject. We'll do many about crop circles, where they come from, what are they? There are fake ones, there are real ones. It's a very complex matter. What other things you like to talk about?
Well, there are a ton of ancient sites around the world that we don't have much information on. Most of the things that have been found were found in a time of archaeology where they tried to just shoebox them into something that fit. The way I like to look at it is you look at dinosaurs back in the 1800s once they started finding them and putting them together. Well, 100 years later, you realize that they were taking 3 and 4 dinosaurs and just making a dinosaur out of them, right?
Yep.
Bones were backwards. I mean, they
Nobody
just
knew anything.
But at the time, that was cutting edge technology, right? That was based on the people that had the most information, the smartest people in the world at that time. Now we have the ability to date things a different way than they did back then. Obviously, we have carbon dating, and they didn't have it back then. But the problem with carbon dating is a lot of times.
Can't test stone.
What's that?
Can't test stone.
Yeah, a lot of times what they're trying to, or they need to try and get a date for, they can't, which is stone, right? So they try and carbon date something that the stone was placed on top of, that they might, like a branch, or just something that they can find. And the problem with that is most of that stuff was cleared out. All of it was cleared out when it was created. So nothing dates back as far as the technology would say it should.
Right. Exactly. There's these things called Ica stones. You ever heard of these?
Ica?
Ica stones?
No, are those the ones that are from Raiders of the Lost Ark, or the second one, Temple of Doom? Little glowy stones?
Probably. So there's this like small little village in Ica, Peru. And this farmer who didn't have any education, he started finding these stones that had like strange things carved into them, like the anatomy of prehistoric fish that didn't exist for 100 million years. Pictures of dinosaurs with humans next to them. Pictures of the skies, like the star constellations in the skies millions of years ago. They're just things that an undereducated farmer couldn't have known, and definitely couldn't have spent his entire every second of his life carving. There's like thousands of these stones. Nobody knows where they came from. This farmer was arrested one day and held for a year. I took that slap like it. Fuck you, Chris Rock.
That's funny.
Yeah, and so there's like these stones. They the Peruvian government, they took the guy. He was in captivity for a year before he came out and said that he faked every single stone. And it was just kind of like the terms of his release. And nobody really knows where these stones came from or how they got the knowledge on it. But there are fish that have been extinct for millions of years, like their perfect anatomy just laid out on an ancient stone. It's fascinating.
I think I have heard of those, but aren't they in the United States now, those stones?
There's actually a museum in Ica, Peru,
Okay.
that a majority of them are housed in.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, it's things like this that we can research, bring people on that have more knowledge. One of the cool things, and you mentioned it, was whenever someone puts the stars down as they see them, we can map that.
Yep.
Because the universe and the solar system is constantly moving. So that's one of the really cool ways that things are dated, is by looking at what they were seeing in the sky at the time. And oftentimes it dates back way, way, way farther than it should.
Oh yeah. I mean, the oldest site on the Earth right now is a place in Turkey called Göbekli Tepe. So one of the coolest places on the Earth. I wish I'll go someday. But what it is Göbekli Tepe in the Turkish means pot-bellied hill. So essentially in the 90s, this is the site that's the oldest place on Earth. Come home to play TikTok. Same comes 7 days. Sorry, I was reading Chris Rock's. I don't think he's the real Chris Rock.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. So the site, which dates our species back like 1,000 years every year of excavation that they do, is concentric circles stacked on top of each other. And whoever made it, it took between 1 to 3 years for each enclosure to be built and carved, and then they would bury the motherfucker and build a new one in relation to the star constellation they were following. But the interesting about this place is, like, the older they start to excavate, the nicer things get. So they have a form of carving there that's called high relief carving. It's very different than the way that our civilization carves stone, which is like into the stone, right? The way that the high relief carvings work is they carve the image so they carve the image, like let's say you're going to carve me. They would carve the outside of me so that I rose out of the rock, or the image
So like
came
a
out of
stamp.
the rock. Pardon?
like a stamp.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's not a form of carving we see in many other places in the world. It's very difficult to do. But what's fascinating about this site is like they did. There's like pillars that show the star constellations as we see them today. They were buried 12,800 years ago. Nobody knows why they were on there. It's almost like a message to us, and it's called Pillar 43. If any of you want to look into it, it's been recovered in the last couple of years because archaeology does this thing where if they can't explain something, they just ignore it.
Yeah.
You know, archaeology is not a science. It is just prediction guessing. It is just trying to make my predictions as accurate as possible. Like the Smithsonian, if you ever have the pleasure of making it into the bottom levels of the Smithsonian, you'll see all sorts of things that just don't make fucking sense anywhere. It's truly fascinating.
Well, and you just look at it today. I mean, you can look at it with something like psychedelics. You look at anybody who's researched them over the last 20 years gets ostracized because the government doesn't want them out there, right? They don't want the masses being enlightened in that way. So you look at it, you follow psychedelics through the 40s, 50s, 60s, and then see all of a sudden there was everybody was on board with it. And then all of a sudden Nixon comes out and says, oh, well, these are class 1. And they just put a stop to it really quick. And it's the same thing with most supernatural things. If you try and bring it out as someone who is educated, you get ostracized. Aliens have been that way for years and years and years and years. Pilots wouldn't talk about what they saw in the sky because they didn't want to lose their jobs. And it doesn't mean that anything they saw was extraterrestrial, but it doesn't matter. No one up to, the last few years has really wanted to know. Now that we have a few things come out from the Pentagon, okay, now we're in a place where people can start talking about it. But to me, it just feels like we're just getting a little bit of information right now so we can kind of get used to it for a bigger bomb later.
Disclosure. It started in the 90s even. People like Bob Lazar coming forth and telling their stories. For those of you that don't know, Bob Lazar was this scientist guy who claimed to work at Area 51 in Nevada. And he came forth, he took technologies out of Area 51 amazingly, surprisingly, unknownly how he did it. But he came out and he told people that we have been backwards engineering alien craft for 60, 70 years. That these craft run on a propulsion system that uses a type of fuel that he dubbed Element 115. And at the time, there was no Element 115. People thought it was crazy. Now there is an unstable version of this 115, which is the exact thing that he said it was 20 years ago that everybody said you made up. It isn't real. But then come to find out, now we have an unstabilized version of this. And a stable version of Element 115 would do amazing things for propulsion technology.
Yep.
But we haven't figured it out yet. So yeah, Secret Space Program, that'll probably be mini podcasts we do about the Secret Space Program. If only most of you knew the technologies available on this planet right now. It would blow your minds.
Alrighty, so we've got pyramids, crop circle, space program, and then we've got all these ancient sites across the world that have been explored, but we don't really have a lot of information for. Stonehenge is one of those that everybody knows about, but it seems like every year we get a little bit more information about what it was used for, how it might have served an ancient population, those kind of things.
Did you know that they completely reconstructed Stonehenge in the 1900s? Like the early 1920s. Yeah, there's like pictures and stuff of them like rebuilding Stonehenge.
So obviously it didn't look like what we see, is what you're saying?
What?
So what we see isn't what existed 150 years ago?
Right. It had been knocked down or something. Or at least just they restored it. So what we see now is that were, hundreds, they restored it. So what we see now is that were, hundreds and hundreds of new stones. So what people don't know about Stonehenge is that the stones of Stonehenge came from hundreds of miles away. They weren't just mined right there. They were taken from another part of England, and nobody knows how these you know,
Got them all the way over there.
multi-ton rocks were shipped and moved. So somebody just asked what are our plans now. That's kind of what we're game planning right now. Are our plans for the podcast and for my TikTok. It's gonna change. We're taking a change of direction here. Now that we're no longer in the Eastern Bloc, we've lost our access to most of our information. I mean, I'm still reading the Cave Post daily, so I know what's going on, or at least I like to try and think I know what's going on. But it's really tough because Western media doesn't give a shit about anything except for Will Smith hitting Chris Rock at the Oscars, which seemed kind of staged to me. I don't know.
Well, the only
It
reason
looked
I
like a real
think
slap.
the only reason I think it's not staged is because I can't personally figure out why it would have happened.
Well,
what's
there's a bunch of
behind it?
conspiracy people on there that are just like, well, okay, so I heard somebody that gave a pretty persuasive argument in the conspiracy narrative, and
Okay.
it was Pfizer released 155,000 pages of documents about how the COVID vaccine got fucked up and doesn't work, essentially. And,
Right.
this is used as one form of distraction. Now, people aren't so invested in what's going on in Ukraine. We'll distract them this way with something. Like, look at how much attention it got, right? Like,
Oh, I know. It was on everybody's mind for at least a couple days.
yeah, right here, division, drama, and yep, you're absolutely right. That's like how the whole media system functions. Is if we can keep people away from the larger issues, we can keep them distracted with this nonsense bullshit. Then it allows the powers that be to continue operating the way that they have for the last 100 years.
Yeah. Well, I don't disagree with that. I just don't see how that really plays
Yeah,
because
me neither. That's just what. Like, there's a dude on my Facebook page. He just shut the fuck up. Honestly, he's so annoying. But he's like, you're all just being distracted. It's just the New World Order. They're just distracting you from the New World Order. And I'm like,
well,
okay, bro. I don't think anyone needs distracting from the New World Order. Nobody gives a fuck.
I haven't watched the Oscars, just the clips that have shown up. What I'm wondering is, was Chris Rock standing with his hands behind his back the whole time he was on
I didn't pay
the
attention to that
camera?
speech.
Because his hands were behind his back when he got smacked.
Yeah,
And if you know someone's going to smack you, that's the easiest way to keep from reacting,
yeah,
blocking it.
indeed. Well, I mean, just beyond all the global politics and shit aside, like, I would think it was done for like publicity. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's talking about Chris Rock now. Nobody was talking about Chris Rock before, right? Just a career booster, right? Like, Will
Yeah.
Smith is pretty famous. His wife is pretty famous. Um, do I think it's weird that he went up to defend his wife after he just laughed at the joke? Yeah, I do think that's weird.
Yeah.
But again, it's just like trying to make your name bigger, right? Like, if we could do something like that, I'm sure we would try and get,
Yeah.
another million
What
followers
I'd
or
like to
whatever.
see, yeah, what I'd like to see is the camera on Will and Jada the whole time. Because it goes back and forth, and so yeah, you see him laughing. Next thing you see, he's walking up on stage. It's not congruent at all.
And I mean, it sounded
So
like he hit his chest. That's what it sounded like to me. It was like,
yeah,
if you ever
I would, if you're gonna do it for real, you smack the guy. It's not that big a deal, right? Anybody can take a slap.
you think.
It was open-handed. It was a bitch slap. It was nothing that was
But these are like rich and famous people.
right. I'd still, they should.
Somebody
When I
asked
work with
me
people on
a real
set,
question was, were the ratings dropping for the Oscars? That's a good question. Because if the ratings were dropping, this was all a publicity show, right?
well, that didn't really make people tune in, though. I don't think. I think it's just gotten post-Oscar attention.
It might be like for future Oscars. Yeah, his wife was upset. It was a funny joke. I don't know. Like, I think
I thought
enough
it was.
people.
I thought it was funny too. I mean, I don't. I just know that they'd gone after him a little bit earlier.
Oh, did they? I didn't know that.
Well,
See, I
yeah,
don't
they were
watch
doing
The
this skit
Office.
about bringing single guys up on the stage, and Will Smith and Jada have an open relationship. So she's like, "Oh, well, you've got permission from Jada. Come on up. You might as well be single," kind of thing, right? So they've made their lives very public, and they have for, oh, 15 years.
Yeah,
So it surprises me that Will would break at any point, right? Everybody, they're the butt end of jokes
right.
nightly, it seems like. So,
They're like one of the most respected couples in all Hollywood. So it's interesting that he just broke like that.
yeah. But
Somebody asked if we are going to be going back through Europe. If we're no, we will not be. We have a plane ticket back in about a month back over to Europe, but without some form of funding, it's not happening.
yeah.
We need like some form of funding to keep that particular adventure alive. I have made kind of big strides on TikTok. I mean, I'm a little impressed by where I've gotten. Want to keep that going, and I think an informative channel, kind of like what we've been talking about doing, is the best way for us to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, do we want to put a poll up?
Yeah,
Can
just
TikTok do polls where people can just
yeah, there is an option. Let me look around here. I know that I think if I start it over, then there's an option. Topics. Let's try this. Nope.
It's not a cage, it's a sound booth. So I'm in a sound booth right now.
I
So
think
you
they
might
might be talking about Frederick's cage.
Oh, hello. Oh, that cage. That's yes, that is a cage. And that's tell me who
I
Frederick
keep
is.
So Frederick is my 1-year-old son. I keep him in the cage when he's not doing good, when he's been, a bad boy. And so, like he went to the fridge last night and like just got a drink out of it without even asking or anything. So he's in there for the next week. No, I'm just kidding.
And
He's my
Frederick's
chinchilla.
about this big. So
He's like, yeah, he's about this big. He's a fluff ball. He's real cute. He's asleep right now. Other, I'd let him come out and play. They're nocturnal by nature. And so soft. This is my dog Hope, though. I'll show everybody. Say hi, Hope.
hi Hope.
She's a punk.
She's getting
She
old,
gets
huh?
jealous. She is getting old.
What, she 11, 12 years old? Well, okay.
And for her breed, the life expectancy is not so long as it's been. So, every day I get now is just kind of like a bonus, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, she seems fine. She seems like she could go another 5 or 6 years. Thank you, everybody. She is real cute. Do you have to keep the AC on even in the winter? I don't turn the air conditioning on in the winter. No. This room sits at about 35 degrees in the winter, so it's like start turning the heaters on at that point. Yeah, but for Frederick, he really likes it. He's got like the chinchillas have the softest and densest coats of any animal on the planet. So for him, it's like he's wearing a parka year round. So he likes it cold. Yeah. In the summer, yeah, the AC does have to be on, but not in the winter. But yeah, I mean, it stays here. Doesn't ever get about higher than 70 degrees in this room. So he's always kept pretty cool.
So you're in a basement, but you've got windows, so it's just halfway dirt, halfway up.
Yeah, probably 60% of the way up to the dirt outside.
Okay. So that'll help insulate it, keep it from getting too hot or too cold.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, it's nice. It works for now. The rent is so freaking cheap. It's hard to deny. And I'm amazed we still have 9 people just hanging out watching us talk. So yeah, the way we're kind of thinking we're going to do the podcast is I'll be uploading videos onto my TikTok, just short little segments, 3 minutes long about the topics that will be, the larger topics that we'll be talking about in our podcast, just to kind of whet your appetites a little bit, so you start looking at these ancient temples. You're like, well, I mean, that does look pretty old, and I'll give you some facts on it. Why I personally believe, lamestream archaeology is lying to you and me and all of us. I mean, there are sites in the world that, like, especially in India, right, where Western archaeologists will be, oh, that's 1,300 years old, but the native peoples in India will be like, no, it's tens of thousands of years old, actually. For anyone who's actually read the Mahabharata, then you start to realize that, especially in Hindu culture, like, they're so much older than we claim to be in the West. My friend has 2 for her chinchillas. Yeah. It's like a pretty nice day outside. I think I might be going to Oregon either today or tomorrow. I've got to re-up from what happened with my brother.
Right.
Real shitty.
So you guys can plan on getting about 3 podcasts a week out of us, probably starting next week, with us getting over the crap that we caught while overseas. Things have gone kind of slow here, but
yeah, it's been a slow. This is my first live since the last one I did back in Europe.
Oh, really? I thought you were going on yesterday.
I was going to, but it just didn't end up happening.
Oh, Cindy wants to see Hope.
Oh,
there's her butt.
where are you at? He's here. This front camera's a bitch. Oh,
there's her butt. Oh, so close. We almost see Hope. A little more.
Let me change the camera facing direction. There she is.
Oh, there she is. Hi, Hope.
Whoa. Yeah, she doesn't like being on camera. She never has.
That's funny.
Voila. Yeah, she's never liked it. Like, I don't have a whole lot of pictures of her. She's really good at, like, turning right as you're about to take a picture. But yeah, that was Hope, Cindy. She's pretty cute. She's an Alaskan Malamute Timberwolf hybrid. There's no husky there. Yeah, she's, like, not the best cuddler. Sometimes she is, but most of the time she just sheds, like, all over the place. So you, like, let her into your bed, and it's like, oh. She's got, like, 3 layers of fur, so she's always dying of heat. In fact, I just hired people to come pick up the dog poop in the yard, which is nice. It's getting a lot of shit over that.
Yeah. Literally.
But, like, they were supposed to send me a bill, and they never did, so I'm not really sure what to do about that. What up, Rob? How you doing? We're just discussing future podcasts on here. This is the shop manager, Rob. We're just discussing future podcasts on here. I just got, like, a real big echo back. This is the shop manager. We're just discussing future podcasts on here.
I don't know what's going on.
Are you hearing, like... Well, this is part of one right now. This is actually podcast 4. We're getting to the end of it. But... Well, this is part of one right now. This is actually podcast 4.
I've totally lost you. It's gotten too bad.
It has gotten too bad.
Come back.
Okay. Hello. Sorry about that. I don't know why we were getting that kind of interference. We were getting that when he was, like, next to me back in Europe. I was hitting, like, that kind of interference made so we couldn't do that kind of a live interaction before. If anyone else wants to call and join, feel free. So Rob from Bob's, he is the shop manager, and he, like, won a really nice motorcycle in a competition, and he just sold it. He says he's getting a mic soon. The mic set up soon because he wants to do podcasts as well.
Oh, cool.
I never thought podcasting would be so much fun, you know?